All right, everyone, let's go check out what is undoubtedly the most beautiful road bike ride in the Truckee area. From Truckee to Cisco on the old US Highway 40. The first thing we do is ride along Donner Lake to the base of the climb on Old 40 up to the historic bridge. Along the way, we get nice views of Mount Judah and Donner Peak. At the west end of the lake, the climb begins. About 3.2 miles and something like 1,100 or 1,200 feet gained. A lot of it's like 7%. There's a sign for Old US 40 and the county line. So as you get to the 1.5 mile mark or so, you come to a barrier which states that the road is closed to cars, bikes, and pedestrians. So if you're not comfortable jumping the K-rails, then it would be a good idea to check and make sure that Old 40 is open before you attempt it. Old US 40 is closed currently to a massive rock slide which occurred on the rocks above the road and have tumbled down to below the road. And apparently there's road damage, although it doesn't look bad. Part of the reason why they're keeping it closed is that the rock face above is still very unstable, and they just don't want people up here because there's a risk involved with traveling through that rock slide. As we get higher up, I think we're about maybe the 2-mile mark, you can see the old historic bridge there. Absolutely gorgeous. And we're also in an area where rock climbing is quite popular. Not sure if you can see it, but if you look at the very lower end of that bright, flat rock face directly ahead, there's a climber right at the bottom, just starting up a crack. As we get up toward the bridge at mile 2.5 or so, there's a beautiful lookout, a place to stop. As you can see, it's pretty hazy today, unfortunately. You do get a view of Donner Lake, and there's a little staircase where you can get over to the bridge. Of course, there's a plaque. And you can read about a party of 1844, which was the first party before the Donner Party that came over the pass. The Donner Party was in 1846, so this was the first one. And they made it so they weren't as famous, but of course the Donner Party was 2 years later, was quite famous. Okay, so now we're crossing the beautiful historic bridge. If you look dead ahead, just below that lone large pine tree, there's a slanted wall, and this wall is very popular with beginner climbers. What they do is top rope and then work their way up this modest grade. I'm sure someone like Alex Hunnell could just walk up that thing no handsy. As we get to mile 3.2, we gain the summit. So this is the old Donner Summit on old historic US 40. And there's an old historic building there, a bunch of signs, elevation 7,058 feet. And over to the left is what is now called the Summit House. So at the old historic building, you've got a bunch of signs with a ton of information about activities and natural history of the area. And here's some information about Native Americans and also the original immigrants. Here's an old kind of model railroad. Looks like a switching hub or something. And here's some really cool information about the shed, which originally housed workers who were the first ones to keep the road plowed in the wintertime so people could enjoy winter sports. And here's some information about the Chinese laborers who were instrumental in building the railroads in the West. And here's some information about the railroad. And some information about Tunnel 6. So the railroad went through man-built tunnels that kept the snow off the tracks. Here's some information on the old airway station. It was the first transcontinental airway station. Up on top of the hill was a beacon. There's some information on it. And this is where it was, up here. Donner Summit's also the crossing of the Pacific Crest Trail. And here at the summit they have a bike rack where you can lock your bike, and also a tool and pump station. Over the summit we go, and the next thing we're going to see is Donner Ski Area on the right. Now this place remains open in the summertime for mountain biking. There's also a great cafe and good beer drinking there. As we make our way over the summit, we come to the second Sugar Bowl entrance. Next we pass the Clareton Pond Lodge. So now we're in Soda Springs. You can see the road to the left, that goes to Serene Lakes. And from there you can catch a dirt road. I think it goes down to a place, I think it's called Cedar Flat. From there you can take a road all the way to Forest Hill and continue on to Auburn. So I'm going to stop at the Donner Summit Historical Society, and I'm trying to get this old map of US 40. I'm going to see if I can get it here. It says open, come in, so I'm going to do that. Howdy. I heard that there's a map that you guys might have of Old 40.
The guy who runs it isn't here at the moment.
Oh, okay, maybe it's in this, oh, here it is.
Here, is it?
I think this is it. What's this one? Here.
There's a map outside on the...
Yeah. Can I take these?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. A different guy normally here?
Yeah, he's not here.
Oh, he's coming though.
He'll be here
Yeah.
later on.
This is what I need. This is perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Oh, let me just make a donation here. Here's the story of Thomas Stevens, who bicycled over the Sierra in 1884 in August. And here is a replica, probably one of Stevens's bike. I think it had a 50-inch front and a 18-inch rear. So it would be a 50-inch gear to get over the Sierra. So next we're at the Soda Springs exit off of Highway 80. And this is where old US 40 crosses I-80. And the area leading up to it is super bumpy and messy. The bridge is nice. And then either end of the bridge is pretty messy, pretty bad pavement, but maybe they'll fix that. Next we go through Kingvale, and there's not much going on here. There's a few homes and also kind of some road maintenance buildings. And this is following a rather fast downhill that we do after we cross I-80. The road's not great here, but other than that, it's just kind of a cruise until we get to the next interesting place, which is the Rainbow area. And here's a place along the way where we can see an on-ramp to get on 80. So I-80 is just literally right over there. All right, so here's a little side spur that we're going to check out. It says no outlet. There's an overflow here, and then there's a bridge, and then it travels along 80, and we'll see where it goes. I know it's noisy, but I'm just checking out this old piece of road that leaves Old 40 and then travels underneath I-80 over to some cabins. Not sure where this goes. It says no outlet, but I'm kind of curious. So I may continue on and see if we can get to Rainbow like this way. Okay, so this is where it ends, and it just says private property. I'll bet you can get through there, but it is privately owned. Okay, at Rainbow we cross back under I-80, and we'll be back over to the south side of it, passing a couple of highway exits. And then we come along the river, and it's just a really beautiful spot. All right, so this is the beautiful Yuba River at the Rainbow area. And you can see it's flowing pretty good, and there's a couple of really cool cabins that are perched right on the river precariously, but apparently they've held up, so that one's still there. And you can see the stone foundation, which probably helps keep everything in order. And then there's, above the river there's a retaining wall. Just west of the cabins on the Yuba River, we have the Rainbow Lodge. This place is open sporadically. It is open today. And I think they host weddings and events here. So there's lodging and good food and everything. So if it's open, it's a good place to stop. So next up is the Loch Leven hiking area. It's a nice trail that climbs up, and there's some beautiful lakes up there. So this is the staging area. Looks like we may have some sort of disturbance here with the Forest Service. Probably a parking issue. Not supposed to park with wheels on the road. I should note that you can go backpacking up there and stay overnight, so a lot of people do that. There's the restrooms over there. Applying sunscreen. I'm at a pretty cool historic spot. There's a plaque here. I'm just a little bit west of Rainbow Lodge and a little bit east of Cisco. And what's interesting about this spot, it is the junction where the three highways converge. And there's a myth I'm going to debunk, and that is that old US 40 and the Lincoln Highway are the same thing. They're actually not. The Lincoln Highway was the first transcontinental route established in 1913 by a guy named Carl Fisher. And following that, in 1926, old historic 40 was built. But there are places where they diverge, and this is one of them. What's interesting about this place is we can see the Lincoln Highway, old US 40, and I-80 all in the same place. If you look across the river, you can see the flat area, and that is actually the Lincoln Highway running along on the other side of the river, and you can actually go over there and travel that. If you look just next to the tree in the middle of the frame, you can see an old stone wall that was part of the Lincoln Highway. And here's another section of stone wall. Right, so earlier I was talking how you could see the Lincoln Highway from Highway 40 across the way. And I've decided to actually take a dirt spur and find the Lincoln Highway. So I am on the Lincoln Highway. This is it right here. Right below me is some of the stone wall work that was done. That's the South Fork of the Yuba River. That is old US 40 right there. And way in the distance, you can see the bridge for I-80. You can see one direction of I-80, the eastbound direction, traveling right over the old 40. So this interesting spot, we can see the three highways. So we are now in Cisco. We're at the site of the old stone cabins. But the reason the cabins are still here, of course, is because they were built of stone, and they've held up all these years. All right, so here I am at the stone cabin. This was the Forest gift shop. And this, I think, was like an ice cream stand or a refreshment stand. And this was a popular place for folks to stop when they were traveling on I-40 on the trip from the Bay Area, Sacramento, whatever, up to the Sierra, to the Tahoe, Truckee area. Of course, people were traveling a two-lane highway with older cars, and the speeds were a lot slower, so they're much more likely to stop here, take a little break, and have a refreshment. Now, I should mention that behind the cabins, there used to be a lot more buildings. There was a hotel where you could stop and stay at. These are all gone now. I mentioned the stone buildings are still here, but everything else is gone. You can still see remnants of foundations behind the stone cabins, but that's all you're going to see. It's pretty much grown in. From here, there's an exit just down this way, and I'm going to head down there. This is normally where I turn around and head back to Truckee, and that's a good place to do that. But at the end of the road, there's a modern gas station with a convenience store, etc. So if you need drinks, water, food, or whatever, that's the place to do it. So I'm going to show you that right now. Now's a good time to remind you, if you like the video, please do give it a like. I'm going to show you what happens now at the end of the road. So old US 40 ends right here at Cisco Grove. But if you're on a bicycle and you want to continue west, you can do so. Bicycles are allowed on the freeway to get from here to US 20. So from where I am right now in Cisco Grove on the on-ramp, you can jump on I-80, and I think it's about 2.5 to 3 miles to get to the place where you can get off and get back onto two-lane roads. It's a necessary evil if you want to go in this direction. One thing that needs to be said is that this road is referred to as Historic US 40 route. As it turns out, the number 40 has been decommissioned. It is no longer Highway 40. That name has been used for an interstate down in Southern California, which travels across the country. So we refer to this as US 40 or Historic US 40. And that's the correct nomenclature. And you also notice that the thing I've been referring to as the Yuba River is the South Yuba River, so there's also a north and probably a middle. On the return trip, I like to take the right-hand turn at the bottom of the hill and then head around the south end of the lake. This is the first weekend in July. It's actually July 4th weekend. This is about as crazy as it's going to get. So we travel on the north side of the lake, which is fast and busy on the outbound, and then on the inbound we're going south side of the lake, which is hilly and more quiet. So you can take the south side route both ways, or you can do it outbound but not inbound, whatever you want to do. So the final leg takes us through Garner Lake Park, and this is a good place to launch your kayak or your SUP board or your jet ski, whatever it is you're into. And there's also a campground here with plenty of camping. The ride ends up being about 40 miles and 3,000 feet of climbing, so it's not too bad. Like I said, it's an absolutely beautiful ride, and I hope you enjoyed all the natural history along the way. Hope you enjoyed this amazing exploration of the Donner Pass area and the most beautiful bike ride in the Truckee area. Road bike ride, that is. And until next time, thanks for watching.